Oh, yo, yo, yo. What is up, Bulls Nation? How's it going? We got a W for you today. It's kind of a bittersweet game because we lost Gafford. Hutchison went down. We don't really know exactly what happened with him. If it's a back, if it's a tailbone, if it's like a wrist. We know Gafford's out 2 to 4 weeks with a thumb. We know we got the W. We know Zach had 30 points, but I also know that Josh and Stevie are joining me. Josh, how you feeling right now?
Another day, another Zach Levine, good performance. So I'm feeling great, man.
Yeah, Stevie. I mean,
Yeah,
is the Zach Levine performance keeping your mood up today?
yeah. I love his shot making at the moment, and especially his threes. I think you're seeing him blossom into one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, and it's worth tuning into these games just for that.
30 points, like I said, 12 of 21 from the floor, 6 of 11 from three, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. My favorite number there is 7 assists. Like I'm saying, he's an elite scorer. He's going to get his buckets. He's gonna make his shots. But if he's facilitating, it's gonna come easier to him because then he like that's also a threat that people are gonna be looking out for. Everyone else becomes a threat. Obviously, it's easier to get assists against the league's worst defense by far, and you can see why with the Wizards today just leaking everywhere on the defensive end. But Zach Levine, I feel like I've been kind of negative on him when everyone else is staying high. I just kind of want to like make sure that we focus on what he needs to be doing better, and he's actually been doing it better these past few games. So I'm not gonna knock him for it. And it's just so effortless when he's knocking down the threes, just flying in the air, basically. What is Zach Levine doing better in the more recent times than he was like before, Josh?
Playmaking, I feel like his playmaking's been really good. His consistency's been really good. He's been averaging 30 in his last 15 games. Sure, the Bulls don't have the wins to back it up, but individually he's been playing super well. His last 5 games, yeah. So tonight he's 7 assists, and then the 4 games before that, 6 assists, 1 assist, 6 assists, 3 assists. So in terms of being a playmaker, he's starting to make the right decisions. I know that he is trying to get his teammates involved, and it's been pretty good to see. How about you, Stevie? How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I feel like he's also been trying to get to the rim more often rather than settling for mid range shots. And then he's getting to the rim with more purpose and actually feeling finishing stronger around the rim. So I've liked his last, yeah, I'd say probably between 4 and 7 games where his 3-point shooting has been really consistent, but he's trying to find the open man. Tonight he had a shot where he had a defender kind of close to him and he saw Larry was open and he chucked it to Larry in the corner. That's real maturity and growth.
100%. And speaking of Lowry, 13 points, 4 of 8 from the floor. Did end up with less minutes than Cornette for the full game. That one, okay, so that one, after we kind of stopped our halftime show on Periscope live every game, check it out if you haven't, people. Anyway, back to the topic. I was like, okay, well, Gafford got hurt and Cornette was fully just taking those Gafford minutes, and we're about to bring a guest on too, so we'll say what's up to him when he's on. Josh is bringing him in. But Lowry was just, I mean, Cornette was just getting all the emptied Gafford minutes, which made it more than Lowry's minutes. Not saying it's okay, because Lowry should be getting a bigger chunk of those minutes than Cornette, but that's kind of the reason. So maybe it's slightly more forgivable than it was. But Lowry, 13 points, 8 boards, and assists. Stevie, what you think about Lowry's game?
Yeah, I felt Larry was pretty good, but I was surprised at the minutes distribution where Thad didn't end up playing that much, and I'm not sure how they're going to manage Larry moving forward in terms of how many minutes he's going to get at centre. But again, just not enough shots. Like now with these injuries and there being really no centre options, he's the guy that you want to give more shots to. So seeing him only have 8 shots, that's just not. I mean, other guys, Sadaransky 9, Cornet 10, Kobe White 9, Thaddeus Young 9, Hutchison 7. Larry's just not being involved in the offense at all. It's not that he had a bad game, but it's just not seem to be. He just doesn't seem to have a role.
Well, he's having a good game if his role was, or if he was supposed to be, just a solid bench player or like fifth guy in the starting unit in terms of offense. whereas he should probably be the second go-to guy. I mean, and some nights he should probably be the go-to scorer when Zach LaVine is cold. But it's just not how this Bulls team operates. 3 guys off the bench had more shots than Lowry. And honestly, it's not. Before I used to, put a little bit of blame on LaVine, saying, "Oh, LaVine's not making plays and he needs to be finding Lowry a little bit more." Now, like, I'm not gonna blame Lowry. I think there is some sort of onus that he needs to take up on himself in terms of being more assertive and more aggressive in whether it be the locker room or in the game. But it's also definitely a systematic thing. Something's not right, because if Lowry's not going to turn down more shots. He also said, what was the quotes for on Twitter? He was like, I don't know, it's just the system. Josh, like, what's going on with this? Like, I just really can't explain it.
Yeah, it's weird too, because it seems as though like Larry is trying to involve himself. Like 13 and 8. I mean, it's not a bad game. We do expect better, but like he is playing in the system and he isn't getting the touches, because this is like a Zach LaVine system. Like the idea is to have him have the ball in his hands and have him make the shots, and there's like not really any room for Larry, because it's I still haven't really worked out what the Bulls are trying to do, but it's just so different to last season in terms of the spots he's in, like lurking around the perimeter. Sure, he can be a really good stretch 4, but there's a lot more to his game. I'm pretty sure the only 2s he attempted were in transition or like a dunk attempt or something. So the Bulls aren't really trying to find too many ways to get him involved. And I do like the fact he is staying, I want to say aggressive, but he hasn't really been aggressive. But I mean, I don't really know what to say, because it's been a problem all season. How about you, Steve, anyway, with marketing? We talk about it all the time, but like, why? Why is he not involved more? How is he not getting as many shots as we'd like to see?
Yeah. Well, so I looked up on Synergy, his 2 main play types are spot up. This is prior to this game, so the start of the season. Spot up 32%, transition 17%. So he's not a bad player in transition. I feel like he's pretty good running the floor, either trailing, but then he doesn't seem to have many pick and pop opportunities. He's not a great roller to the basket, but then he's also not really getting the ball a lot on cuts. So the system that they're running, if he doesn't have it in transition, he's just turned into a glorified Kyle Korver, basically. And then even then, he's not getting a massive volume of 3-point attempts like he was earlier in the season. So I mean, you can blame it on the offense, but I feel like he does still try and look for the ball, but he's not really he's not a real mongrel where he's going to go for try and get the ball every single possession. So I can't blame it on him though. Khan, what do you think?
No, I mean, I'm not blaming it on him, and it's just there. I don't know what to there's no blame. I'm kind of at a loss for words at how you want to emphasize player development or growth of all your young players. Lowry being you want to not, when teams want to player develop, it's generally the stars, the guys with the highest potential that teams and executives talk about, and Lowry is that for the Bulls right now. And he's just not being looked for in the offense. It's kind of just like, okay, if he gets it, he can, either shoot or pump fake and drive, or it's always secondary motions, secondary actions for Lowry. It's very rarely the primary action, and that's just a shame. It really is. Like, I feel like you could run a pick and pop with Lowry every single play just to get into your sets. It doesn't need to be the final set. Lowry can make plays too. Like, just start every, I don't know, 3rd, 4th, 5th possession with a Lowry pick and pop or a Lowry pick and roll. Like, just get him involved in the play. I'm not saying the Bulls' offense was stagnant this game. It was like fine, but Lowry, there's just, with every initiative that the Bulls have been saying, whether it's get to the playoffs or develop players, Lowry is the crux of it all. But let's get to the real issue today, and actually let's get to our special guest, Zak Noble. What's up, Zak? How's it going, man?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're
good.
We're doing good.
Good, man.
Did you catch this? Did you catch this game?
Hey, you bring me on, I start bringing W's. That's what happens. that's the name of the game here. All I do is win.
100%. How you feeling right now about this, Bulls team? And I mean, we're not talking about the Wizards too much, but we just
Right.
want to get all your takes about this Bulls team. As Bulls fans, I'm sure you see Bulls Twitter really upset. Like, where do you stand?
To be honest, I've only missed probably 3-4 games all year, and honestly, I doubt you'll find many non-Bulls fans watching more Bulls than me. And that was one of the most fun games all year. I mean, I can't believe how smart they played offensively. I mean, just starting the pace was solid to just sharing the rock and making the smart play throughout the game, I thought, for my expectations of this team. And I was very pleased with it overall, but I'm not sure where the conversation's at right now. But I was really happy with this game, and it's just Bradley Beal to me though looks so. I mean he's been out of the loop. He's been gone for a while. He just looked incredibly selfish that whole game. Yet the team came away with 25 assists somehow. It's just because how fast Washington plays, and that's what kept them in it. I don't think they should ever win away from IT, which was a little weird because he hasn't been that great all year. But I thought, he played pretty well and kept them in this game. But I just wasn't impressed with Beal, and they did a great job of monitoring everybody else. The Bulls defense did.
So one thing before we get too deep, and we weren't really talking about it. We were just talking about Lowry not being involved in the offense, and then Zach LaVine going off. So we still have a lot of stuff to talk about. I did want to ask you before we get into all that. You said you watch a lot of Bulls for some reason, and you're not a Bulls fan. Like, why? What's your Bulls story? Normally I ask the Bulls origin story, but I don't know if you have an origin story or a Bulls story. But why? Why are you watching so many Bulls games?
Unfortunately, it's nothing sexy like that, man. I'm just an absolute freak. I had 3-4 games going. I'm that guy, and I'd say I watch 90% of all teams' games. Watch about 2 or 3 before all the games start the next day, and rewatch what have you. And there's very few teams I've missed less than 5 games for all year. So that's just how I roll, I guess.
Yeah, there's one thing too for Bulls as well. Like not many things to be excited about. Wendell Carter Jr. down, Daniel Gafford down now, Otto Porter down. So they're starting to lose some key rotational players. But one player we seem to get back to talking about on the pod almost every episode is Zak LaVine, averaging 30 over his last 15. He's been balling. The Bulls don't really have the success to back it up. But where do you sit on this LaVine thing? We kind of everyone on this pod kind of has all like admitted that he may not be a first option on a good team, but I think this season he's actually been like improving quite steadily. He's started to put forward a string of really good games. What do you say on this whole Zak LaVine All-Star experiment, Zak LaVine first option sort of thing, and just how you feeling about the guy?
He's the one spark plug or the bright spot in this offense. I absolutely despise this Bulls team offensively, but like everybody just focuses on the faults and where they lack offensively, but nobody talks about how good they've been defensively. I mean, they've been a top 10, top 13 team, wherever you want to put them defensively. And for the young core they have and for the personnel, like, I'm happy with that. They just should not be towards the bottom, which they are offensively. And there's no excuse for that, but it's just these other guys getting them involved more. And I don't necessarily blame Zach for it. He's a big part of it, sure. But the fact that they just let him run free and do his thing, I think he needs more structure, and honestly, to translate to winning, to use his best strengths. But, they just kind of let him run free, and he's become way more efficient. He's become a much better shooter this year, that's for sure. But it's his assist game, his passing, overall playmaking, that's kind of, it hasn't really improved much. That's the biggest thing for me. He doesn't make players around him that much better. He's one of those guys that's tough to figure out who he could play around and where he'd fit. He's a fun player. He's about as fun as they get, to be honest. He's one of my favorites. I'm a big Timberwolves fan, lifelong Timberwolves fan. I wish we never would have got rid of him, but Yeah, that's my biggest fault. I think he's improved on the defensive end as well this year, and Jim Boylan done a better job. Like, he's no Trey Young or some of these other guards that are great offensively and just do nothing on defense. Like, he's closer to a positive than a lot of them. Like, Bradley Beal's declined defensively this year, and Zach LaVine's improved. That's for sure.
2 Wolves fans on the pod because Stevie is on.
Represent.
But this is a Bulls pod, and we did steal. Well, I guess we didn't steal them from you, but Jimmy Butler, the saga there. I always love talking, especially 2 seasons ago. I have another Wolves fan friend that it's just really fun getting Bulls and Wolves people together just because of all the parallels that have been kind of taking place in the past few years. But the important thing that we didn't actually talk about yet in this game was Gafford down, out for 2 to 4 weeks with a sprained thumb injury, and then dislocated thumb actually. And then Hutchison went down. I don't know if we got word. I haven't been checking Twitter if the injury for Hutchison is clear, but he couldn't finish the game. Shaq Harrison came in, and that's going to open up a whole nother topic in Denzel Valentine. But first, the injury bug, the lack of center, like the Bulls, yes, the defense was good, but Wendell was kind of a decent part of that. Gafford was also a good part of that when he kind of came in. I know it's the aggressive switches and blitzing that kind of does it for the defense, but when Felicio went in, it was like an 11-0 run immediately. So, like, what are the Bulls gonna do with this lack of big man depth right now? Zach, sorry, I should have led.
No, that's all right. I was happy with Luke Cornett's minutes tonight. That's for sure. I think I'm starting to believe in him more as an NBA player. I've never been high on Luke Cornett besides just a couple of bright spots here and there, which is very few and far between. But tonight I liked his minutes.
Yeah,
they're absolutely screwed. They're absolutely screwed overall from the big man.
100%. Like, because they don't want to play Lowry at this 5 a lot. I mean, we talked about how Cornett got more minutes than Lowry in the first half and in the second half, but it doesn't matter if Cornett was getting Gafford's minutes. Lowry should still be getting 5. Like, Thad Young at the 5 might be something they might have to try.
Right.
You know, and that's questionable at best. But Josh, I'm gonna go straight to you with this craziness of Denzel not even getting any minutes when Hutchison was out of the game and Harrison going in. We're like, I'm a fan of Shaq Harrison, but Denzel, it seems like it's kind of like a grudge at this point.
It's absolutely crazy because your small forward goes down, Chandler Hutchison, and then you got your small forward who's been playing better than Chandler Hutchison sitting on the bench, just rotting away. And Jim Boylan was like giving Hutch some hugs and stuff, and he looks at his bench. He's like, "Oh, Shaq, you can play basketball. Get in the game." And then Shaq goes in, misses the free. He made the free throw, I believe, and then did nothing. Like, missed a drive, -5 in 2 minutes. Like, checks back out, and then it's like, okay, well, thank God that's over. We saw the Bulls run a lineup with Felicio, Thad Young, Archie Diacono, Harrison, and Kobe White. And I thought to myself, are the Bulls actually trying to lose this game? Like, I get the season hasn't been going to plan, but you're 40 games in, you're already trying to tank. And then quickly they responded with Levine and Markkanen, but it was dreadful. And I like Shaq Harrison as a defender, but it just doesn't make sense to me why Denzel hasn't been playing. It's got to be a grudge of Jim Boylan. Jim Boylan has said many times that, Denzel is not seasoned enough. He's not ready to get out there yet. But I mean, he played a damn good month back in December. The Bulls went 7-6, and he was a big part of that. And now we're stuck to the bench again. Stevie, just cool me down. Give me something to put off this Denzel mess.
I don't know if this will cool you down, but Luke Cornett actually led the team in minutes tonight. With 35 minutes. I mean, I feel like now with the injuries and the general way that the team has been playing, I'm not sure. I just don't know where they're going to turn it in terms of the wing. I mean, Hutchison can't seem to stay fit, and then look at the big man rotation. Guys are going to end up playing out of position significantly. I'll go to you, Zach. Where do you think the Bulls go with the trade deadline coming up? And there are only a few wins out of the 8th seed. I don't even really want to talk about the playoffs though.
Yeah, so I'm with Josh. I can't believe they're not giving Denzel Valentine any time because I was actually higher on him than most coming into the season. I was excited to see him blossom this year. I really thought it was going to happen, but I just don't think he's gotten any opportunity. And I think Boylan's had a grudge against him as well. But to me, honestly, I have no idea. This is one of the most confusing teams in the league. And to me, it seems like Wendell Carter Jr. is the one piece people like more than anybody else, which I've never been as high as most on Wendell Carter Jr. I've always been much higher on Levine and Markkanen than everybody else. But to me, it's if you're gonna put your stock in Lauri Markkanen, you literally got to change the way you're playing. I honestly don't blame much of his decline on himself. I blame it on his opportunity and the offense and the players that are around him and the coach. So for me, I think you're wasting a lot of wasting a lot of stock because he's going to keep declining. I don't see him getting a whole lot better the way they're playing and just the style of basketball this team plays. So it's either you go all in and try to trade Markkanen and build this team around Levine, see what you can come up with, which I'm fine with that. Or else, honestly, I think you got to move on from Zak or Lauri. I think one of them has to be gone because those are your only pieces you have like true value, and like I just don't see him going away from Wendell this early. I think that's like he's like their one. I don't see anybody in this league really as untouchable besides like Giannis and a couple others, Luka. So I like to look at it this way as nobody's untouchable, but that's just where I see the conundrum they're in come trade deadline. I don't know. What about you guys?
There's not a lot of value to, give other teams based off what you could, like, what you're perceiving to lose. So what I mean by that is, like, when you give Thaddeus Young, one, no team is really going to offer up too much for Thaddeus Young, especially given his performance this year so far. And because of that, you're not going to want to give away Thaddeus Young. No team, I don't think there's a lot of teams, even though Zach LaVine has been playing really well, I don't think there's a lot of teams that are willing to give up a lot just because he hasn't been able to show that he can play off ball. Not that I don't think he can, and maybe smart teams can see that, and like if he's in a right system, he can be even more efficient and better, and like if you make it like use him better than the Bulls have been using him, then maybe he can be effective. So that's maybe one way, but what are you going to get? Like, is Philly really going to go after a Zach LaVine type, or Miami, or I don't know. Zach LaVine trades are interesting to me. And then everyone else, like Lowry, you can't give up on yet. At least I don't think you should. Wendell, same kind of story. And everyone else doesn't really have value. So exactly what you mean. Like, Otto Porter hasn't played all season. So no one's going to want Otto Porter, even though that's like the ideal type of player generally that teams go out for. So it's tough. People want to make trades, but there's not.
I think the only guys, to your point, real quick, the only guys you can get value for there, you'd have to work super hard with a Zach LaVine trade. Otto Porter and Tomas, I think you can get a first for Satoransky. I think you can get a first at least.
I don't think
that'd be worth it.
I don't even think someone would give up maybe a top 20 protected first. Maybe.
This is a bad draft.
If they really need a point guard.
As a Timberwolves fan, I'm giving you anybody that's not in the lottery for Satoransky. I really am.
I'm taking it immediately. Immediately, I'm taking it.
I agree.
Bring me my money.
I think that the Timberwolves could make a good trade partner because they've got wings up and down the roster, guys like Trevion Graham. The Bulls just need some bodies on the wing. I'm not saying that Satoransky is the one to ship out, but they might need to just send away someone and bring back a couple of guys that can just competently play.
Look, how about Gorgie and Keita Bates-Diop for Satoransky and Denzel? Bam.
Valentine. There we go.
Bam.
We're in.
Great. We need bigs. We need bigs because of all these injuries. Gorgie's actually pretty solid. Like he's overpaid. 100% overpaid, but like he's solid. And then Keita Bates-Diop 100% has the potential. Like I don't know if the Wolves would want to give up on Diop that quickly, but that would be a great trade. Honestly, I would do it if I'm the Bulls.
I honestly, think Dang isn't overpaid if he's in the right situation. I think the Bulls are one of those teams where he's just a guy that he needs minutes by the right type of players. And honestly, like, for the reason why he declined so much when we paid him, Tibbs went away from him. That's all it came down to. I've always believed in Gorgie. I really have.
Gorgie's a good player and could fit in nicely.
Throw in Otto Porter, too. Throw in him.
I think, yeah. So Otto I've seen, and a reading in the Athletic today, apparently he still has value on the trade market, but Josh and I have been discussing this with Otto, is if he's going to potentially be shut down for the season because he comes back with a month to go, would teams take a risk by giving up, I'm not going to say he has a lot of value, but a team's going to give something up to get Otto when potentially he's a major injury risk and has barely played this season?
I mean, no one's gonna give up anything without unless you're just the Bulls just want anything for Otto, which that would be a stupid move, I would say. The reason is that $28 million next year doesn't really hurt a lot of teams because everyone's planning for the year after that, so they're willing to pick that up. But if I'm the Bulls, then I'm just willing for him to pick that option up and see if he actually has value next year because he hasn't played at all. So. Yeah. Anyway, what else is there to talk about? Like, Zach, I'm curious, what other things have you seen from the Bulls? Like, how bad is the front management Boylan type talk or situations that you've been kind of seeing? What do you think? Do you like the young players, and are they just being used incorrectly? I just want like a more general view of this Bulls team because we talk day to day about pretty similar things all the time.
Yeah, so, like, a couple of points just from tonight's game and recently. Honestly, I've always thought they've jumped a little too much on defense. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's keeping them from a for sure top 10 defense. They're a little passive-aggressive when it comes to rebounding. I don't think they attack rebounds like they should. Little things like that they just need to tighten up on, and I'm sure Boylan's those are the types of things that he focuses on too. But it's not like Lowry hasn't had success. I mean, there was an 8-game stretch from Washington to Dallas where I point out he went 27-3 and shooting 50 and 42. Like, that's what you want to see out of Lowry. It's just, how do we get that consistently, What you guys, you obviously remember that stretch. I don't think they were playing that much different of a brand of offense, would you guys say?
Well, Otto was running up and down a lot. He was also playing some pick and roll. Like, there was a distribution of the playmaking, and they were running. So they are running now too, but it's more of a transition type run. Like, if they get turnovers, they're running. I feel like last year during that stretch they were running after made buckets too. It wasn't just steals and the aggressive defense that was causing the fast break plays. They were just kind of making it all the time. And then Lowry is a big part of that. Lowry on the move is so much better than standstill Lowry, which is why he's been struggling. He hasn't been put into motion as much as he should be. Not having any wings like Otto to stretch the floor and also make some plays. Otto was actually an underrated playmaker when he had the ball in his hands too. So it just takes the ball away from Zach ISOs a bit more, even though Zach ISOs haven't hurt too much. So it was just a more cohesive offense during that time.
I think you nailed it with Otto. The fact that I forgot that he was around during that stretch as well. But I think it's the easiest thing. It just blows my mind that they're 25th in pace right now. Like, there's no way this team should be playing this slow. I just can't believe that. That's the part that every time I watch these guys, it's just like push the ball a little bit. As for like belief and overall team, it's like I believe in Zach. Like, before the year, I truly said Zach, Lowry, Wendell, and Otto. Like, I was really high on this Bulls team coming into the year. I was, and I wasn't mad that Jim Boylan was the coach, unlike a lot of people. I wanted to give him a fair shot, and I'm still not like that. Angry that he's the coach, like a lot of these Bulls fans seem to be. Like, I I think it can be fixed and it's manageable, but it's just I'm not seeing progression. That's the biggest thing here, and I've always thought like if Kobe White, they believed in him, they almost had a starting five that if they all reached their potential, I thought they could get to a second round or an Eastern Conference Finals in a couple of years. But now I'm so far away from that thought with this team. That's been the biggest disappointment for me because I truly believed in those four guys. I wasn't a big Kobe White guy coming in, and I've never liked Chris Dunn. I never wanted the Timberwolves to draft him, and Valentine's stock has dropped drastically. So that's kind of where I'm at with this team. It's like figuring out. I mean, they need to figure out who their future is, who their core is, and honestly, just shake things up sooner than later. But until they do something with the front office, I don't think it's ever going to get a whole lot better, unfortunately.
Yeah. Does Zach, do you think if you're looking at how talent has been developed with this team, do you think there's a problem in terms of the way that players developed and being taught how to work within a system? And it just seems to be that the way the offense is being run this season, we're struggling to develop guys, even when they traded for Dunn. I'm not saying that he was going to be an amazing player, but you look at Markkanen, the same, like, is there a problem with the player development in Chicago? So even if they did draft someone excellent next year, just say it was a great point guard, someone that could break the defense down, would you be worried that they weren't going to develop them well?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They've all had, like, 10-game stretches, like a couple of them. Like, even Dunn's gone on tears from time to time. Every single one of these players we've named have had bright spots. Like, and that's the thing. Like, Laurie was one of the best rookies last year, the standout. That's the thing, and it's just like, what's going on? And it's like, it's tough. It really is. Like I said, one of the most confusing teams in the league. Because I mean, a lot of people. I wasn't alone believing in this young core. I really wasn't.
No, you were not.
Like I said, there were people much higher on Chris Dunn, much higher on Kobe White than me, and people that were just going all in on Wendell Carter Jr. And I mean, he's been hurt, yeah. So I'm not gonna jury's out on him for sure.
Yeah, I think with the Bulls too, one thing that's plagued them, we talk about a lot, is obviously the injuries. And before I talk about that, I mean, quickly you just brought up the draft and Kobe, why he went too high. And I mean, I was pretty frustrated that Minnesota robbed us by taking Jarrett Culver, because that was my guy. I was pretty furious that we didn't get Culver, but I've come to like Kobe. I know he's extremely streaky, but you know he's proven that he can knock down shots, especially when he gets going. I think over time the consistency is going to pick up, and defensively he's been pretty good for a rookie guard. And I mean, the Bulls' core, the thing is just keeping it together in terms of injuries. We saw what they could do last year in February, and that was minus without Wendell Carter. And I just finished an article on why Wendell Carter is actually the most important, the most valuable Bull. And I don't mean that in terms of being the best Bull, because Zach LaVine's clearly the best Bull, but Wendell makes his Bulls defense tick. He makes it tick on both ends. The Bulls defense is ranked 28th in the last week since he's been hurt, compared to top 9 ranking prior to that. He's one of the best defensive players, big men, in the league already, and he was the key to getting this Bulls defense going. And now they're kind of searching for holes. And then Otto Porter obviously is a pretty good 3-and-D wing. I think he might be a little bit overrated defensively, but nevertheless still better than any other option the Bulls have. And his role as being a floor spacer that can actually guard, you know, the 3, the 4, some 2s, was so valuable for the Bulls. And not being able to keep these guys on the court really just hinders the potential of this team, because there's a good chance they run it back with a very similar roster this season if no deal with Otto Porter Jr. is made. And you could go through the same thing again. Like, you see the players show flashes. Like this season, we've seen Kobe show flashes. Last season, it was Wendell. The season before, it was Markkanen. And then, obviously, during stretches of every other season. And we might see the same with Kobe next season, or whoever the Bulls draft. But then again, we're going to see injuries, whether maybe next season Lowry misses time, Zach misses time. If they keep this thing together, none of these dudes have really been showing that they can play 82 games aside from Sato and Young, and they're not your young core. So it's just, for me, for the Bulls, you just want to see them stay healthy. And it's easier said than done, but that's what's hindering progress, I believe. How about you, Stevie? Do you think I'm crazy talking about this, saying that the Bulls, like, the health is the biggest problem, or where do you sit on that?
Yeah, I think so. We had, like, if fans are disappointed about this year, you can point it at a couple of things, but the injuries have definitely not helped because you haven't been able to see guys get a full season. Now, Wendell Carter, you were starting to see his defense is great, is the biggest part of his game, but you're really starting to see his offense open up. And then when he was injured, Gafford had some really good games. But now Lowry and Zak will probably play the whole season, as long as there aren't any injuries. But the other guys, you haven't been able to get a full season out of them to say, hey, at least we know what we've got. So until they get full seasons out of most of the guys and you can play the core together, I don't really know what they do have. But I still feel like they are missing that one. I don't want to say Ja Morant because he could end up being one of the best point guards in the league, but they need a player similar to that who could really break the defense down. And the roster composition this season, even with the free agents they signed being good free agents, Satoransky and Thad Young, I feel like Thad Young's fit wasn't that great. And then they didn't really have someone who could really break the defense down well. And then as soon as you had an injury, you were really short on the wing. But prior to the season, we talked about them being short on the wing. That was already something that should have been addressed. So the roster is flawed anyway. What are your thoughts on that, Khan?
The roster's flawed. It's whatever. It's not different than what we've been talking about preseason. It just kind of made itself very obvious during the season.
There's still a top 8 roster though, Khan. Like, we can't deny that. It's still a top 8 roster in the East. We're not playing together. Like, you look at these players, you look at all these dudes, and you compare them with, say, who's probably going to be the 8th seed? The Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic. Like, there's more talent.
Well, look, if full health. If you had Otto and then backed up by Chandler Hutchison, I don't mind that. That's fine. Hutch was playing fine too, and Otto obviously can play. Then you have Thaddeus Young, Lowry, and Wendell. Like, we can bring back the entire preseason podcast catalog that I was talking about. Yeah, the roster was fine. There was a bottleneck at the wing that if there was one injury there, then we were not going to play well. There were 2 injuries there almost all season, and that's why we've kind of struggled here. Now we have these big man injuries, but then it's just like when there's clear signs of not solving problems when they arise, it doesn't make sense for me to point at the injuries. And in past seasons, then I was fine with pointing at the injuries more so than not, but now it's kind of like whatever. But Zach, you're a Wolves fan, and I know Stevie is too, so I feel like I should be asking him this more often. You guys know what it's like to be frustrated with your front office, and us Bulls fans have kind of gotten a taste of that for the past 5 years. But comparing this situation, like, how bad do you think it is? If you were a Bulls fan, like, would you still have some hope for the future? Like, where are we at here?
So we're in very similar situations, other than we have way more upside in one player, and you have more, like, you have a couple more guys to believe in, I guess. I wouldn't go that far. I just say our upside's a lot higher than yours. But overall, from like a win perspective and growth and development, we both have a couple bad contracts, many would say, and whatnot. If we combine forces, we could be pretty damn good, I think. But
I'd hope so.
Yeah, it's really hard for these two franchises to stay optimistic because, we both have struggled in the front office and decision making in the past, and that's why we have been trade partners as well, I think. Just the incompetence, but
honestly, would we though? I don't know. I don't want to fully talk shit about the coaches or the front office or whatever. But would we, if the Bulls and Wolves combined rosters right now and given to the Bulls right now, the same culture, organization, everything, would they be serious contenders for anything?
Ooh,
all right, let me lay this out real quick. So, the point guard, right? We'd all agree on Satoransky would probably be the point guard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go Levine, Wiggins, Rocco, and then Towns, and then you got Wendell off the bench. You got Wendell, Kobe, White, Culver,
Lowry.
and then Otto Porter. No, that'd be the best bench in the league by
Lowry
far.
or Covington?
Yeah, exactly. Right there. So, I mean, I think
You'd be really deep
Covington
team. All right.
Right. Exactly. So, I think if you combined them in the East, I think it depends on who the coach is. I mean, that's the problem. If you'd have one of our coaches, we'd be fucked.
That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point. I
Coach
wasn't talking about the roster. I was talking about like if you combine them and put them into the Bulls' current situation. That's like
okay. But,
that's what I'm saying.
Boylan's the coach.
Yeah.
If you combine the teams and Boylan's the coach,
Oh,
I think we could be as high as the 2 seed. I really do.
All
I
right.
think Boylan could have these guys right behind Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
Maybe.
I think that the Wolves have taken some really good steps in the front office and have actually looked to right the ship in terms of like player development and the things that the Bulls actually need to do. Like they brought in David Vanderpool from the Blazers to work on the defense, and until the Bulls start to really invest and work on developing the players and riding the ship in that regard, then they'll have the bad 20 years that not 20 years, 15 years that the Wolves had.
Yeah.
I got an idea for Zach LaVine, you guys. I got to run it by because I've been thinking ever since I felt like we needed to trade him or Laurie. I think the best fit for him, to be honest here, this is out of left field for sure, but I think next to Fred VanVleet in Toronto.
So let's see
So
what
you
that would
get
look like.
VanVleet,
Give me Lowry
him
and Powell.
Siakam as who?
Lowry, Powell, and a pick, and you get yourself a deal.
What's the deal?
That'd be a no-brainer for Toronto, I'd say.
They're not trading Lowry for Zach. In 0% of the situations are they trading Lowry for Zach LaVine.
Well, Fred could walk. Fred could realistically walk this summer. He's unrestricted free agent.
He could. You're right.
He could leave.
You would have to. There's not really any trade to be made there. You would because the Bulls would only want OG, and they're not going to give up OG. They wouldn't give up OG straight up at this point if you ask Toronto. Not that they could because of the contract. Marc Gasol and Ibaka don't really do much for the Bulls, and then you would get a pick. But yeah, I don't know. It will be interesting.
I think OG would be the decision. I wouldn't guarantee they'd give him up, but I think they'd think about it. I mean, I personally would think about giving him up just because defensive. I mean, Zach's upside is way higher than OG, even though OG's value might be higher with the two-way capabilities and the fit. So definitely,
yeah,
that's
I'm not sure. My worry would be Zach's next deal would be quite expensive, and I'm not sure. I think he can continue to grow his game, and he might get up to 26, 27 points a game, improve his efficiency. But I'm not sure with the way that Toronto is structured that they would make that deal.
Oh man. Anyway, any last things you want to say here, Zach, before we log off? Thanks for hopping on. By the way, didn't say that.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Good chat.
I always like talking with people from down under. I spent 6 months in Newcastle in college, so brings back good old days.
Where are you from, Zach?
I'm from Minnesota.
Minnesota makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
I spent 3 years in Boston, 3 years in Kansas City, and now I'm back in my homeland. I had season tickets growing up to every single Kevin Garnett season. Went to every playoff game he ever played in here. So that's my claim.
And where can people find you?
Mainly on Twitter. I don't do any other social media. I mean, LinkedIn, but who gives a shit about LinkedIn, I guess, when it comes to the NBA.
Okay, I give a lot of shits about LinkedIn, Zach. We gotta chat.
All right. I'm all in, and that's where a lot of our growth and businesses come from, surprisingly. But Zak Noble, and it's ZAKNOBLE, and then we're all over Ball is Life. So 4 seasons, 4 SDNS is the podcast, and appreciate any rates and subscribes.
Yes, sir. You'll see him on Twitter. Go check him out, and then come chat with us at Bullish Hoops on all the social media platforms. Bullish Hoops isn't on LinkedIn though. That's more of a personal thing. But anyway, hit us up. Thank you all for listening, and catch us on halftime live Periscope shows. Those are fun to chat with all the people watching the game halftime. So peace out. Talk to you later.